Book or AI?
This is going to be one of these arguments was about how you feel about a player versus what player is actually better. He is not as good a player as Devin Booker.
Battle of the eras, right? Where we take NBA All-Stars, right?
Yep.
First
All
team,
NBA.
All NBA first team players.
All NBA first team
from
players.
different eras.
From different eras, okay.
So we got the 2005, and then we have the 2022 All NBA team. 2005, we have Tim Duncan, Dirk, Shaq, AI, Nash. 2022, we have Giannis, Jason Tatum, Jokic, DBook, and Luka. Point guard, we're going Luka, right? At point guard or Nash? Steve Nash or Luka Doncic at point guard?
Luka Doncic.
I'm taking Luka.
I'm taking Steve Nash.
Why?
He won the MVP that year, right? Steve Nash. Steve
I don't know that.
Better,
You want to talk about a guy who sees the game differently. Steve Nash, yes, maybe his points weren't the greatest, but the reason why he won the MVP that year, and it should have gone to different players that people were saying, was because he made his team one of the best scoring teams in the NBA that year. He was the ultimate facilitator, and he's good defensively.
You want to hear my hot take?
He was not a good defender, bro. He was not a good defender. Neither was Iverson. That's why I'm rocking. I think the 2022
Remember we were talking about football earlier?
Team.
Oh, here we go.
Steve Nash is a system quarterback. You know, Mike D'Antoni elevated him, but
That's an interesting take.
That is an interesting take. I think Luke. So you're saying you think Luka's a better player?
Yeah, Luka.
Yeah,
all day.
more complete.
All right, here's the question: Book or AI?
God damn, I hate these.
See this one right here. This is going to be one of these arguments was about how you feel about a player versus what player is actually better.
You're right.
People feel a way about AI because they love it.
I
love
hate
AI.
the Sixers, and I absolutely adore
I love
Allen
AI.
Iverson.
One of my favorite players of all time. He is not as good a player as Devin Booker. And I love AI. He revolutionized the crossover, everything for the culture, the hip-hop style, bringing in all I get it, but D-Book's a better player. I'm with
you. He's bigger, too, and D-Book is a very, very underrated defender. He's got lateral quickness. He's got size.
Underrated playmaker, too.
Yes, very.
Kendrick Lamar once said...
I might slightly take Devin Booker over AI, but AI's handles, it's just something else. It's just special.
What you going with a Kendrick Lamar quote?
I remember you was conflicted. That's what he was saying.
I was just playing the butterfly today.
The Demons of Lucy.
I'm going AI. Fuck that.
Oh, okay. You got one person over AI. Yeah. He said he'd slightly take D-Book. Gio said he'd slightly take D-Book.
I could get persuaded to the AI.
I can't do it. I can't do it. If Book had a championship, then I'll side with Book, but I'm biased right now. All right. All right, Jokic or Shaq?
Shaq, yeah, 100%.
I gotta take Shaq.
Shaq's eating his lunch.
1-on-1.
Jokic or Shaq?
I'll say this though.
This is 2005 Shaq.
Yeah.
Yes. This is
backcourt overall.
I'm taking 2022 Jokic over 2005
That's Heat Shaq, right?
That's Heat Shaq.
That's Heat Shaq.
That's Miami Heat Shaq.
And that's what.
That is Miami Heat Shaq.
Hey,
that's
still very.
I'm
good
switching sides. I'm switching sides.
Yeah,
I'm switching sides.
You're not asking me if I'm
Sorry
taking for their career. I'm taking for the year. I'm taking 2022 Jokic.
He was 22.
The numbers,
I'm with you.
I'm with you. The numbers
I'm
are
with you.
2022 Jokic wasn't this year's Jokic, and I think this year's Jokic was much better than 2022 Jokic. And Miami
both were
Heat
fantastic.
Shaq was sick, and this was before they won. This is before they won the championship too. This was the year. The year before. The year
he got there.
He got
not
there.
06.
That's not 06. That's 05 Shaq. And I'm telling you, Shaq is going to give Jokic problems. Shaq's an incredible defender.
I was thinking Lakers Shaq because we were just talking that. But no,
Shaq's
I'm taking
a
Jokic.
menace.
I'm taking Jokic, man.
Shaq is a menace.
I'll say, and the duo of fucking Duncan and Shaq, to bring it up to power forward, the spacing of those two is going to be horrendous against if you have Jokic on there, just alone. Giannis can't shoot for shit, but he's going to.
I'm still taking Shaq. I'm taking Shaq over Jokic.
I'm taking Jokic. I'm taking Jokic for
taking Jokic.
I'm taking 20.
The reason why I'm gonna go Jokic is because Shaq.
got another Jokic.
Shaq said he was like, we were partying every day, and I don't know how we won the championship, so I've got to go Jokic. All right,
This is another reason why I should take Shaq. Are you kidding me?
Jason Tatum or Dirk?
This is Dirk.
I'm taking Tatum.
This is 05 Dirk?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm taking Dirk. 05 Dirk. 05 Dirk was.
You say you're taking Tatum?
I'm taking Tatum. I just think he's quicker. I think he's going to run Dirk off.
So you rather have Jason Tatum over Dirk?
This year, yeah.
Oh, Colin. Please.
Positionally, I'm taking Dirk. I think I'm going to lean if you said more about which team would beat watching.
That's what I mean. We break down the positions. I look at the guys and I try to look at it from like a 5v5 standpoint instead of go position by position. Yeah. And I think the 2022 team is faster and has floor spacing. And I think the front court defense of the 2005 team is going to be horrendous. And that's where I draw it.
Listen, man.
He's like, we're not trying to do all that.
Yeah, you know what?
Sorry, we can keep going position by position.
NBA nerd nonsense.
You can nerd out with me, Colin. I'm with you.
I appreciate you.
Still take Duncan or Giannis?
Giannis.
Tim Duncan.
Duncan.
Again, speed, athleticism. I'm rolling with Giannis. All time, like who's the better power forward? Duncan. And it's not even close. But to pull these guys out of each in Giannis in 2023 and Duncan in 2005.
If we look at the stats,
we change years every week. I can't keep track.
Man, Luka, DBook, Jokic. So that's 3-2, right? So we picked on the 2005 side, we picked Tim Duncan and Dirk. In 2022, we picked Jokic, DBook, and Doncic.
I think if you put those teams on a court against each other for some of the floor spacing reasons and speed and athleticism, I do think the 2022 team beats them 5v5. I will say.
I ain't gonna
think about this right now. Well, I mean, it's tough because they also played. We've seen a lot of these guys. There's more Hall of Famers. Obviously, there's four.
That's the problem with this is it's so easy to look at names: Nash, Iverson, Dirk, Duncan, Shaq. These big Hall of Famers, huge legacies, and look at some of the newer guys: Luka, Booker, Tatum, Giannis, Jokic. They're all new to the scene. Don't fall into the nostalgia trap of saying these guys are greater, they're better.
I mean, whoa.
Because greater doesn't always mean better.
Because Shaq is the most dominant player of all time.
Correct.
So I think when we took in accountability, because nobody can stop him. Obviously, we have Giannis on this list, who is like a baby Shaq in a sense, right? So you can put him, you can put a body on him, like he can do something with that. But Shaq is still Shaq. Yeah. When we look at Tim Duncan is interesting because a lot of people. I heard this thought the other day: is Tim Duncan a top 5 player of all time?
He might be.
It's tough.
I think I have him 7. I've had this conversation with people before, and I think Tim Duncan gets disrespected. I want to be honest.
His resume is so close to Kobe's, but Kobe's flashier and cooler, and people put him ahead.
We're on the same, and I am a Kobe fan, but this is gonna make some people mad out here. We're gonna make some people mad. Tim Duncan should be higher on the list than Kobe. Tim Duncan should be higher on the list than Kobe.
If you think about it, like, is Kobe a shooting guard, right?
Yes. Shooting guard. Yep.
So. Is MJ a small forward or shooting guard?
He's a shooting guard.
All right, so the best shooting guard of all time is MJ, right?
Hands down. Yes.
All right, so the second is Kobe Bryant?
Yes. I'm fine with that.
All right. If you look at power forward, there isn't any argument. Tim Duncan is the best power forward of all time.
I don't think we should let positions dictate who's better.
I'm just saying it adds to the resume if you think about it, right? He, like when you think about power forward, you think Tim Duncan.
Yeah,
Tim Duncan, has 5 rings, correct?
5 rings.
He's been to 6 finals.
Correct.
He's beat Braun twice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you got to think about that. Like
Tim Duncan also had that longevity. Like they both played a long time, but Kobe, you think of the injuries towards the end of the career. Duncan.
I'm not gonna fault him for that.
I don't think Tim Duncan had that many injuries, but that's important.
And if you think about longevity,
we talk about
everybody always says like the problem is like. He wasn't cool, or he was. Because don't get me wrong, the Spurs were born as shit.
How close they are on all defensive teams, all first. But like teams,
we don't talk about, nobody ever mentions
one.
Duncan in top 5. If you don't have him in your top 5, like I get it, but like I think there is a level. Like as I'm getting older, I'm realizing how disrespected he was.
Yeah, I think it's disrespectful to not have him in your top 10. I will say that. But if you don't have him in your top 5, it's whatever. But if you don't have him in your top 10, that shows me. You really like a lot of the flash and like substance matters, right? And this guy won. I don't know how many all defensive teams does he is almost the same as Kobe.
They are. I just pulled them up.
Neck and neck.
It's crazy how similar they are. All first teams, Kobe has 1 more. All defensive teams, Kobe has 1 more. Finals MVP, Duncan only has 1 more.
Yeah,
I miss.
The point being is, and it depends on how you feel about it. There's no world, in my opinion, where they should just be this far apart. Or you think they're a lot closer than you think, and I actually think Duncan probably deserves more of the edge than people give him credit for.
Yeah. It's also Lakers versus Spurs too. Mm-hmm. The Spurs are a recent dynasty, but it is the NBA dynasty against the Spurs.
It's the disappearing act, right? If you look at like Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the greatest players their worth.
Also needs more credit on his respect.
But like he's around, but like he's not around. You know, so like people don't get to see him or hear about him, or like there's no reason to talk about him. Like that's gonna be the thing with Jokic. Jokic is gonna go the fuck away on his horse, and we're never gonna talk about him
He's
again.
gonna be out of Serbia.
So, but then there's gonna be those like little highlights, like remember how good he was? Why nobody talk about him?
So it's tough because like the top 5 argument too. It's really tough because obviously you have like the obvious ones to me coming off the top of my head is no order, like LeBron, Jordan, Wilt. Kareem, even Bill Russell, and like that top 5, like it's hard to break into that top 5 to me. Like Duncan is fine as a 6, but I do think Duncan will be at a Kobe. But because of Kobe, Black Mamba, like all that stuff with Kobe after he retired and stuff, Tim Duncan, he's a quiet player. That's why people love like certain players in the league because they're so much louder and so much out there. Like a guy like Shai, he's pretty quiet, but he's unreal, unbelievable, and he deserves much more credit than he gets. Obviously, he was first team All-Pro. Like, yes, but he deserves even more credit for that. Yeah, he deserves all that credit. But he's a quiet guy, so people are not going to think him off the top of my head. Like when we were talking top 5 point guards,
I left him out.
We all left Shai out, but he deserves to be
I
a
don't
top
think he's
5
a top 5 point guard.
He should be.
I don't think he is.
But we all left him out.
The reason why, but I think Shai is different because he's in the social media era and he's like a fashion guy, so like he's cool.
Yeah.
So like Tim Duncan had some of the worst outfits you ever seen in your life. So
the
like
MVP is so
you know, and
funny.
my thing about Tim Duncan is just like my last point I'll make, and we'll get off this, is that we are in the social media area where it is the rings era, and Tim Duncan got 5 of them bitches. And nobody even mentions him. So when you have the ring era and you don't talk about Tim Duncan, that's fucking crazy.
I don't think you're tripping on that. And to your point that you're making, Gio, I think people get too emotionally connected to like, and this is somebody who loves Kobe. Kobe's one of my favorite players of all time. So I want to be very clear on this. But we get
LeBron or Kobe?
LeBron's a better player.
See, older heads, like when I talk to like some of my older uncles who are like 40, 50, they're like, Kobe's better than LeBron. I'm like, you're nuts.
Here's the thing, and I love Kobe.
Yes.
But I can say that. We can have nuance. We can have debate. We can have hot takes. We can do all that stuff, and we can still have nuance and not. We all watch basketball, right? We don't have to be so emotionally invested in being like, man, I love the whole Black Mamba ethos. Tim Duncan was born, and you're right. You said that the Spurs were boring as fuck. You're right. Yeah. They were. Nobody was really being like, man, I want to watch these Spurs games. But Tim Duncan was a monster, guys. He was a monster. He was an amazing player. 5 rings. Any stats you could bring up, this guy's the greatest power forward of all time. Everything that we've said, he's a beast.
Well, Tim Duncan's from the Virgin Islands, right?
Yep.
That's a part of America, no? Right?
That is.
Yeah, so, but really, I feel like that team is just overseas propaganda.
Overseas propaganda.
Does J-Body make you angry? Well, that's good. Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe, baby.